Hey, what's up, guys? This is Mark Tamayo two times, the host of Wise Guy Podcast, and my co-host here to the right of me.
Mr. Memories. What's up, everybody? How you guys doing?
Hey, Mr. Memories, Ralph Torres here. So today we have a special guest on today. We have Dr. Paul Ciatto. He is a chiropractor for 20 years, rehabilitation center. He owns co-owner Powerhouse Gym in Brewster, New York. And he is, I believe, a third degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So welcome, Dr. Paul Ciatto.
I'm glad to be here, guys. Thank you so much for thinking of me,
welcome.
and I love it. Love what you guys are doing.
And what I wanted to do, we'll do a little intro song for you just real quick.
Sure. Perfect. Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Let's go.
So I know you are a big fan of Sylvester Stallone,
Huge.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, all the guys that basically show what a man should be, right? In
Correct.
working out, their philosophy, their discipline, and I think your name says it all. So why don't you talk about a little about that and growing up and why you
Sure.
like them so much?
You know what? I think it basically encompasses what we are as Gen Xers. You know what I mean? In that time period, like, over the top males, masculine males, alpha males, guys that took care of themselves, guys that got after it. And I believe that, that in itself was a motivation. Seeing those guys. I'm an ethnocentrist, so of course I love when the Guineas and the Italians are, some of those guys. I like that type. I like that stuff. You know what I mean? So for me, it's great in that standpoint. But I come from a very old world background, and I'm first generation in this country. My parents are from the other side. My mother's from Naples. My dad's from Sicily. I was raised Sicilian. So, guy, you never could tell the Sicilians the other way because they'll just say that the other parts don't count, which is nonsense. But I was raised by a Sicilian warlord, as I always tell people. And my dad's alive and kicking, thank God. And he's 70. God, my dad's 74 years old, and he'd still fight you right now. As crazy as that sounds, I mean, it's like, yeah. So like, you see that, that generation, come over here, doesn't speak the language, starts from nothing, and that work ethic and that tenacity. You know what I mean? And that gumption per se. And they were here because Paolo just graduated from high school and they came for the ceremony and whatnot. And my youngest, spent some quiet time, alone time with my father, hearing the stories of what he went through coming here. And my son was like, I have a new appreciation, for what Nona Joe was about and, what they went through here. And I think that, that encompassing what you, just to get back to what you're saying about Arnold, about Stallone, all those guys, man. Listen, it's not about the guy with the biggest muscles. It's the guy with the greatest determination. If you can channel that into physical fitness and everything else, absolutely. You know what I mean? Like that's what you should be doing, I believe that God gives you a body and that you're supposed to utilize that body to its max potential, and to do otherwise is kind of a sacrilege to him. You know what I mean?
Definitely 100% on that.
And me being a devout Catholic, it's like, it's there. You just got to open up the Bible and it's there about taking care of yourself. So for me, all those guys are great, great, great examples and great motivators. But the my code I learned from my dad. You know what I mean? That and being around really strong men. You know what I mean in the family. So
and I just shared a picture right here. If you're looking up at Rocky right there, and that's in your gym, right?
That's in my gym. Yeah. And listen, I got Rocky, I got Drago, I've got Clubber, I've got Apollo Creed. I've got them all.
That's
you know what I mean?
so
So like,
awesome.
like it's you got to have those things in there. And it's what I try to promote in the gym is those type of things, those motivating factors, those iconic images. I've got tons of Bible verses on the walls too. I've got, anything that's basically, I got quotes from Muhammad Ali, the greatest. I've got people that meant something. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
everyone loves to, claim Muhammad Ali as an idol, but man, Muhammad Ali as a man, you know what I mean? As a man,
Sure.
forget
Sure.
about his accolades. Forget about, like, as a man. Think about what that man did, what he
Yeah.
gave up. You know what I mean?
And and being punched in the head for so many times, he
Yes,
was a very
yes.
intelligent man.
It's
If you hear him speak to other people and stuff like that, he had a lot of wit.
Listen, one of the most intelligent human beings on the planet. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things where that's me and my sons, and it's
Yeah.
one of those, yeah, and
Oh,
it's
great
one of
pick.
those things where, like, you got to really look at a person. Hey, look at Mike Tyson. Like, that guy is a genius. He outside of becoming this Renaissance man, being this genetic and fighting specimen that he is. You know, um, just listen to him talk. Listen to how he
Mhm.
speaks. This is a guy who studied the art of war, who studied the art of fighting. Like, he's an encyclopedia. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it becomes a scenario where, when you look at these guys and you look at the greats around us, no matter who they are, what they are, where they come from, you know, that encapsulates, for me, I'm not a motivation guy because I'm always been very motivated to begin
Internally.
with.
Yeah.
Internally, I'm
Yeah.
more disciplined. That's, aka my moniker, but, like, I'm disciplined, and that is my greatest superpower. You know what I mean? So, like,
Yeah.
it's not getting up to do things because you want to do them. You get up because you have to do them, because there's
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
other answer.
Right.
I think, and I think Ralph can, attest to this, that I think, you don't have to be a motivator if you're practicing what you preach, right?
Correct.
Because
Correct.
people see what you've been through, how hard you work every day, and they look at you and they're, man, that's motivation enough. He
Right.
don't have to say these quirky little things, like I always say, but you're getting in, doing it every single day, and I think that motivates a lot of people.
Yeah, the actions speak for themselves. And that's what
Yeah,
people follow.
I agree, and nobody's perfect, and we all have our
Sure.
flaws. You know what I mean? And we all have do things. There's tons of things I wish I could have done better. Tons of things I wish I didn't make mistakes on. Tons of things that I wish I could get a do over on. Tons of things. And you have to, there's only there's a way of dealing with those things, and it's just trying to be a better version every day.
For
you
sure.
know, and use those things to say, hey, I can't do that again. I can't
Yeah.
make that mistake. I can't hurt that person. I can't, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And it's not comfortable. And
Right.
that's the one thing that people don't understand. Like, I went through some shit the
Hmm.
last, 6 years of my life, with business and X, Y, and Z. And it was like, okay, what am I going to do? I got to bite down on my mouth, chin down, head up, bite down on my mouthpiece, and I gotta go get after it, because it's not gonna just dissipate. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So,
Keep
and
on
that's where
moving
we got,
forward.
yeah, and that's where you have to plug in that discipline. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Because, listen, you guys are great. You're out in California, man. You got great weather 9 times out of 10. Okay, try being out here in the Northeast where it's effing cloudy. Okay, like, and then, like, we were at this morning at the training. We were talking about before we got on air, and
Yeah.
and the trainer's like, it was raining its guts out. I'm doing blah 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 blah, and then the sun comes out. Like, you don't understand. Like, it's been like this in the Northeast for weeks,
Yeah.
weeks.
Off and
And,
on.
it's horrendous. You know what I mean? Like, so if you're affected by weather, like, which I am, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, I want to get up and I want it. It could be 20 degrees outside. It could be 100 degrees out. As long as the sun's out, I'm
Yeah.
okay. You
Now
mean,
you
like,
live in
it's,
Connecticut, but your business
yeah,
is in New York, right? In Brewster, New
yeah.
York. So
So,
you have to commute every day,
yeah,
and I don't think it's too far, right?
it's 7 minutes.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, so,
Okay.
like, I'm like in a triangle, right? So the beauty of the tri-state area is that you can flip-flop from state to state, like, in a matter of minutes, depending on where you live in those states. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Okay.
So I happen to live in an area where I can be in Connecticut, New York, in a drop of a dime. So I live in New Fairfield, Connecticut. One of my operations, the Powerhouse Gym in Brewster, New York. One of the
Hmm.
practice locations is in Brewster, New York, and then I have a practice location in Danbury, Connecticut. And so, from a center point of my house in New Fairfield, Connecticut, it's 8 minutes into Brewster, and it's 6 minutes into Danbury. Do you follow me?
Nice.
So that's
Nice.
that's the neutrality where I'm at.
Yeah.
And Jersey is literally less than an hour drive over the bridge from where
Very
right from
strategic
here.
placement.
Yeah, very strategic placement. So like that's the beauty of the tri-state in that sense. So I have the beauty of being close to home, but you'd think I was working hours away because my days are just,
Yeah.
16 plus. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's just one of those things.
I have a question for you.
Dude.
So, what made you get into the chiropractic field?
Well, believe it or not, I went to school wanting to go to law school.
Okay.
Right.
That's a switch.
Yeah. So I went through 4 years of school. I went to law school. I'm there a semester, and I'm like, this is horrible. What am I doing? Straight up. This is horrible. It was a lot easier. I'm going to tell you right now, school was a hell of a lot easier. Okay. I'm like, I come back. I can't do it. I just don't see myself doing this. In hindsight, do I wish I would have done it to use that later on in my professional life? Yeah, because I hate paying them. You know what I mean? So, but that being
You went
said,
to the LSATs and all that good
I
stuff.
did. I took the LSATs, took the
Okay.
prep, took Kaplan review for the. I did it all. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And then I came out and I told my parents, I'm like, I can't. I'm going to be
Yeah.
miserable. And the one thing I tell all of the guys that are around me, I speak to, especially the young guys, I'm like, you can't chase money. You have to chase passion. If you don't,
Yeah.
if you try to chase money, you're never going to be successful. There are tons of broke lawyers, doctors, accountants, etc. out there. Okay,
Yeah.
tons of them, and that goes for trade professions too. Like there's tons of broke plumbers and electricians, and there's tons of very successful ones.
Sure.
And the reasons that people are successful and they're not in those professions is because they don't have a passion for it. Okay, can you go make a living doing this stuff? Okay, all right, can you provide doing this stuff? Okay, but are you really going to be successful? Are you going to be that next level success? You know what I
Right.
mean? You're not. And that's when I made a decision. I'm like, I've been an athlete my whole
Mhm.
life, got muscles all over me. Chiropractic always helped me. You know what I mean? When I was training, et cetera, et
Mhm.
cetera. And boom, I'm like, that's the direction I went. And I took 37 credits in sciences in a year because I had a BA in liberal in basically in criminal justice. And
Mhm.
I just I hammered through, and then that following year I applied and got in. And it was funny because I applied to start in August because the chiropractic college I went to was it was longer semesters. It wasn't trimesters, so it was 4 years, but two big long semesters. They gave you a couple weeks break in between, where everyone goes. Chiropractic college is 4 years.
Okay.
Most of them do trimesters, so it's done in three and a third, but it's 4 years. Do you follow me? Because you're never
Mhm.
Yeah.
stopping. I happen to be at UBCC,
That
University of Bridgeport.
accelerated course.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what they do, and it's just
Yeah.
still 4 years. It's like any other medical school; it's 4 years.
Hmm.
But Bridgeport at the time was new and like, now we're going to do it the way that you should do it. Give you a little time to shut your brain off, and and get back into it. So I literally got accepted, and I had to get C's in organic chemistry. Okay, so they're like, get C's and you're in. Well, guess what? I took an accelerator. I took organic chemistry, which is one of the hardest courses. Okay, and guess what I got? A C and a C plus. Thank you. I'm in.
Hell yeah.
So like yeah. So and that's the course that makes or breaks people for like medical school, chiropractic college, osteopathic college, physical therapy school, you name it. You don't pass that course, you don't belong. You don't belong going to professional school because it's that difficult. You know.
Sure.
And so I went and started with 43 people, 20 graduated. So there you go.
Wow.
50%, huh?
Yep.
So let me ask: when you were once you started that, could you feel the difference in yourself as far as how you felt like satisfied in what you were doing at that time?
Yes. Yes. I knew I found my calling. I knew that this is what I was meant to do. You know, I
Mhm.
knew that I could be great at this. And, and it was that thing. You get up and you're not going to work every day. You're
Right.
getting up and you're like, all right, this is
Doing
it,
something you
man.
love.
I'm in it, man. Like, hey, listen, later down the line, you want to choke the insurance companies because they're hurting everybody at this point.
Right.
You know what I mean? But like when you're out there as a professional, you're like, wow, man, I get up, I get to go to work in pajamas, my scrubs. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I get like, you know what I'm saying? Like I get to help people. I get to put my twist and my flavor of practice on how I want to help people.
Right.
And it gave me the ability to go on my own and be my own man, my own
Yeah.
be an entrepreneur. Like
Right.
And
once
that
I got my
discipline.
license and I graduated, that's all I needed. The
Yeah.
rest I had a vision and I had a desire, to go and do what I do.
at this time, Dr. Paul, when did you realize that? Like what age?
I was always motivated to do something big.
Mm-hmm.
Always. I always knew that I wasn't going to be this 9 to 5 guy. I wasn't going to be this. I knew I wouldn't be able to work for somebody. I just,
Sure,
I
sure.
it's a matter of I knew very young. And
Mm-hmm.
it started when
Mm-hmm.
I was a bodybuilding champion, like at the age of 19, a
Mm-hmm.
year out of high school. And I always tell people that taught me the greatest discipline in my life.
Sure.
Because if you don't understand pain, because bodybuilding's painful, you're pushing your body to change,
Mm-hmm.
and do I have genetic gifts? Yes. I'm the first one to admit that. But it still was painful. The training was rigorous. There's no off season. The diet's rigorous. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Absolutely.
again, and I played every sport on the planet, but that competitive being competitive in the sport of bodybuilding taught me discipline and
Sure.
really unleashed the discipline that I always had there.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like I knew right away.
Yeah.
I knew right soon.
Well, I
I'm
think,
telling you.
because this show that Ralphie and I are trying to put together, we're trying to share the love, share the knowledge, motivate people. Because a lot of times growing up, you don't have um, that person in your life to teach you certain things, right? And you have to have that circle to do that. And so for me, I mean, I didn't figure this out until later in life,
Right.
that, you know, I should not work a 9 to 5. I was very successful at what I did, but I always wanted to do something better and do something for me, so those type of things, I think being young, you had a little head start, you know, than later in life.
I agree with you on that. And I'll tell you something that was said to me when I was in my first year of chiropractic college. And I don't remember if it was the first or second semester, but the average age for people when they go into a professional curriculum, medical school, chiropractic college, osteopathic college, et cetera, the average age is 29 years old. Okay. And it's because of what you just described, because most people are not happy in their
Yeah.
life and they need a career change because they're like, I'm miserable. I can't do this anymore. And I can't tell you that the average age, and here I was 23, 24, you know what I mean, in chiropractic college. And that's with taking a year to do prereqs to get in. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And a few of the guys that I went to school with had families. Like they were leaving, they would go home on a weekend. I don't even know how they did it because the academic rigor was so hard. Like all I did was study and lift weights.
Sure.
Yeah.
I couldn't. There was nothing else. You couldn't do anything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're taking 30 to 40 credits a semester plus the labs, which makes it 60. You know what I mean? You're getting ready for state boards, national boards right away, like by September, by like semester 3. But anyway, one of them said to me, and I forgot the gentleman's name. He said, and he had to be in his mid to late 30s. He said to me, he's like, man, he goes, when I was your age, this is the last place I wanted to be. I turned and looked at him and I said, well, when I'm your age, this is the last place I want to be.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
mean? So like, and again, i.e. why I didn't pursue law because I
Hmm.
figured it out right away. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. So, you know,
And how old were you at that point?
24.
20. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome that you knew that. One guy told me back when I used to do finance with his brother's company. He said, "Mark, stop chasing the money. He
Correct.
goes, stop chasing the money. You need to focus on something and then do that, right? Do something you love, because if you start chasing the money, you're always jumping from job to job because you're actually chasing the money. If this person offered you $2 more, you're going to be jumping to that job, right? And you're never watering the grass that you're at. So I think that's a good moment in my life that I always take, that water the grass where you're at. Try to find something that you love, and then try to make sure that you try to find monetary means through that, that passion.
The success and the monetary success comes from your passion.
Hmm.
It's the positive side effect that comes from it. Because if you're putting your heart and soul into something that you don't perceive as work, what's going to happen? You're going to be successful. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Right.
And having a pulse on what you're doing and what's around you. I don't care if it's a lemonade stand, okay, or what you do, or what I do, or what Ralph does. Guess what? You have to make adjustments, okay, so that you can continue to be the best at what you are. Okay. So for me, I fight insurance companies. in my professional life. And I'm telling you, what I have to do today compared to what I did a year ago, it changes consistently. And what do I do? Oh, woe is me. No. You know what I mean? I'm still in a better position than 99% of the population. Why would I make excuses? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Right.
Why would I have the ability to do what I'm doing. I'm just going to if I have to work harder, then I have to work harder.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to. It's make adjustments, man. You have
And
to
I think,
evolve.
yeah, and I think also what people don't know, simultaneously while you're doing this, you're actually in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and going through it, right? And
Yeah.
training every.
It's so again, I am a creature of habit, right? So for me, I don't need vacations. I don't like them.
Yeah.
I don't like traveling. Okay. I don't need it. Like, give me a weight room, give me a mat, give me my protein shakes, and I'm good. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, when we do things as a family and whatnot, they all know, well, we better make sure there's a gym, and if it's a long time, we better make sure there's a place where dad can train. And that's easy because I know everyone all over the country. It's usually just a phone call. You know what I mean? To do that. And it's a choice. You understand what I'm saying to you? And for me, I always tell people, I'm like, I'm an extremist. I'm an extreme guy. Okay. If you can gain something from that, I'm happy. But I don't
Right.
expect you to be me, right?
Right.
You need to find with the comfortability in your own skin, and you need to find out who you are, what you are, and what makes you tick, and how you can be successful at that. So for me, training is always going to be a part of my life. For
Yep.
me, whether it's in the rate, whether it's in the gym, whether it's on the mat, and as I'm made fun of often, eating twigs and berries. You know what I mean? It's like, and this, that, and the other thing, like that's just me because the side effect also with this, guys, is that when you put yourself at a certain level, right? As we age, because Father Time's undefeated, right? So you have to do that much more, okay,
Right.
to sustain that level that you've given to yourself, that you put on yourself, to say, I have to be the best at X. I have to be the X at Y because I need it for me first and foremost. Because why? If you don't take care of you, you're not good for anybody.
Anybody else?
Period.
Right.
Yep.
Right? It's like God forbid you fall in the water and that you're drowning, right? And you got to save yourself first. You got to
Right.
put the life jacket on first. If there's a guy flailing around, put your life jacket on first. Then go over there and try and save that guy. If you got to knock him out because you're going to save
Right.
him, right? And then put
Yeah.
the life jacket on him. And then when he wakes up, like I had to knock you out, man. Like
Yeah.
you're out of control. But I'm not going to put myself in harm's way first. You know what I mean? Without taking care of me, so that I can take care of the situation. So
Sure.
I utilize I speak of that analogy often because that's what it is. But
Right.
you've got to find what's good for you. But at the same time, I'd say the kickback is that haters are gonna hate, guys.
Yeah.
Haters are gonna hate. They don't. Oh well, this one does that and that one does this. Yeah, they do. They do. They're doing what you're not willing to do,
That's right.
and that's okay. But don't cast judgment.
Sure.
Don't say anything because I'm not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's you do you and I'm gonna do me. But don't be pissed at me because you don't like what you see or you can't figure out. Well, how does he do it?
Yeah.
Because sleep's not that important to me.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay,
Right.
like going on a vacation for 2 weeks is not that important to me. Right?
What's funny is just to touch on something you said. I was
Shoot.
having a conversation with my wife a couple nights ago, and it was the same thing. And I told her, who's number one to me is me.
Right.
And she goes, really? And I said, yes, because if I don't make myself the best I can be, if I don't put myself in the best physical shape I can be, mental shape I can be, I can't take care of you. I
Correct.
can't do what I need to do for you.
Correct.
So don't think that I'm trying to sound selfish. It's just that I have you in mind. So I've got to make sure that I'm in tip top so I can now pass that down and do what I have to do as a man.
Yeah.
And that's what's lost, my friend. Like that's what's lost because like I've had friends, talk about balance and like, hey, if balance is what you need, God bless you. That's not for me. It doesn't work that way for me.
Right.
You've been blessed to be able to have this balance to do X, Y, and Z, be really successful. God bless you. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart.
Right.
But that's not me. And
Yeah.
it goes back to like, I don't know the first thing about what Mark Tamayo does. I know what he does. I am a recipient of his fine work, okay? But
Right.
I don't know what he does, right?
Right.
I don't know what it is to run his kennel. I don't know what it is to breed these magnificent dogs. I don't know what it is to run that type of business, okay?
Mhm.
And I'd be disrespectful and out of my lane to think I could. So I
Right.
think that people, when they look at a person, whether it's any of us here on this podcast, we all do separate things.
Right.
And so don't think that your formula is going to work for me because it's not.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not.
And to touch on that, that's awesome
Yeah.
because you say that, because I always think that everyone has their time. So don't compare yourself to another person because your time may be a little earlier or maybe a little later than my time. Just because I'm shining or not shining right now, your time will come. So
Correct.
everyone has their time, and I think that's a good point to take because don't compare yourself to someone else. Try to emulate their discipline or emulate certain things that they do to take you to the next level. But it just takes hard work and discipline and structure, I think.
You are 100% correct. And it becomes a thing where if you look at any business, right? No matter who it is, and I'm surrounded by a lot of successful people. And listen, one thing I prided myself on is I will always surround myself with people that I believe are smarter than me. Okay.
Right.
Because I
I
want to
love
learn. I want to
Right.
know. I want to see how I can be better. Okay.
Right.
But there's always the one person in the company, in the job, in the business, whatever you want to say, that's going to be that driver.
yeah,
Okay. That's going to set the tone. All right. And you can read the books and you can, the blueprint's right there. Just stop trying to change the answers to the test because you don't like the answers. You know what I mean? Like I do this with my kids all the time. Like, excuse my French, if you don't like the fucking answers, then don't, then use your own and see what happens. You know what I
Right.
yeah,
mean? So it becomes a scenario where, you know, that's the point. So like if I don't have the answers,
yeah.
I go
Some of
try
these
to
things are
find them.
proven. Some of
Yes.
these things are
I'm gonna go try and find those answers because I'm not really well versed in that. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I want to make a good decision, an educated decision, one that based off experience from people that know what the heck's going on with that.
yeah. And
Right.
when you
And
have a mentality like that, like we always say, we never lose. We either win or we learn, right?
right.
So
And
I think
that's
that's a great saying.
and that's how it is. And I also believe that the ego has been bastardized in a very wrong way. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I am a firm believer that the ego is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The ego is necessary. The ego is there to push you and make you believe in yourself and to show that you are destined for things outside of
100%.
mediocrity. And the bottom line is this: here's how you know when the ego is going to be good and when it's not. When the ego turns you into an asshole, excuse my language, then it's no good. But when the
Right.
ego makes you driven and the ego says, I want the best, I can be the best, I can do this, I'm willing to suffer, I can do because I'm built like that. That's when the ego is good.
Right.
And because of you know the demasculizing of everything, and the unfortunate political climates that we've had to endure up until now, thank God, like you've had, this is what happens. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like it goes back again, like men have to be men. That's the bottom line. And women will never understand that. Okay. And they shouldn't try to understand it. Just like I don't try to understand what a woman is. Okay. All right. I know they do things darn well better than I do in certain instances, but don't tell me how to be a man.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as far as your ego comment, I love that because that is hitting the nail on the head. As a man, you got to have an ego, and I'm a firm believer in that. But like you said, you don't turn into an asshole. I like
Right.
to keep my ego. That's in my head.
Correct.
That's in my head. I try not to turn into that asshole, but I let that go out. And you know what it turns into when people see it? Is confidence.
Correct.
That's
Correct.
what it shows on the outside. But in my mind, I am driven as all hell and pushing through everything I can.
That's right. And that's the end all be all, man. Like, and it's a matter of, again, it comes in every shape, size, and color. And the strongest guy in the room isn't usually the loudest guy in the room. It's the quiet one. It's the one in
Right.
the back. Okay, that's the one you got to watch out for. That's the one you understand. They have taken in the surroundings. They are processing information. They understand what's got to be done, what doesn't need to be done, et cetera, et cetera. And in the same instance, you have guys who can be outspoken and be the same way, except they don't have a problem being outspoken.
Right.
Okay, so but they're few and far between. But a lot of them that can be a little bit over the top are usually insecure. I'm the first one to say that. You know what I mean, and I understand that, but real men, okay, and even strong women, because I'm a huge advocate of strong women, okay. But it's understanding that we just
Yeah.
talked about, understanding that
Right.
ego in your head, that voice in your head saying you need to do it. You
Yeah.
have to do it. You have no choice. You're better than that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's
I
it
think our society nowadays, like you said, only a man can raise a man,
correct.
right? And
Correct.
a woman can raise a girl, so vice
Yeah.
versa, it's not going to work.
It's not. And like I've gotten to some pretty in-depth conversations and with women around me,
Mhm.
and I was raised by a very strong one. I live with a strong one.
Sure. Same here.
and
Yep.
and the bottom line is this, but some of these other women who are past those generations, unfortunately, they have a safety net. And that safety net is like for men like us who live by an honor code and a code of virtue. And I've told these women, whether it's been out to dinner or we've had conversations, I'm like, let me explain something to you. If you were a man, I would have punched your teeth down your throat already. Okay. So you get away with talking like that because you know that I'm not going to react. Okay. Because you know that I would never put hands on a woman. I would never
Sure.
put
Right.
hands on a female. You know what I mean?
Right.
But the problem with you, and I say this to them in warning, and this is I've had many of these conversations. You're gonna run to a person, because I don't even call a man that doesn't a man. You're
Mhm.
gonna run into a person that's gonna not register your big mouth, okay, or your aggressiveness in the way that I registered. They may
Right.
hurt you.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. You need to be cognizant of that. Your words could get you hurt.
Sure.
You know what I
No,
mean? Like,
absolutely.
yeah,
You know what's
like
funny about that is I was talking to someone too, and I said this. Nowadays, what happens is you have a lot of people, a lot of women who are talking to men as if they were men and being
correct.
extremely, extremely disrespectful. And the difference
Correct.
is you don't see men doing that. Why?
No.
Because I know
Yeah.
I say something like that to you or to you,
Yeah.
what's going to happen? We are going to be fighting.
That's
There
right.
is going to be a physical altercation. So, guys, what
Correct.
do? We think about that first. We check ourselves. Is this worth
Right.
it? Is
That's
this
right.
ego? Is this something I really need to stand for? What is it? And so we are processing that and realize, hey, I'm not getting myself into that right now. There's no need. But a
No.
woman, sometimes their mouth can go a little bit. And as guys, we just have to sit there and kind of, man,
Yeah.
if you were a dude, you know what would happen right now? We'd be going
Exactly.
at it.
And I verbalize that many
Right.
times.
Mhm.
Because I'm like, because I know what type of women they are, and I see what they're married to, and I'm like, okay, I see, I see why this is allowed. You know what I mean, per se,
Right.
and it becomes a scenario where it's dangerous, man, because I feel I'm not even comfortable even saying that. Like, but it's trying to tell the truth about a situation. Like, hey,
Right.
man, hey, miss, hey, lady,
Yeah.
you're gonna put yourself in a position because you see it on social media all the time. How many times you see on social media a guy puts hands on a
Oh,
woman
yeah.
because she got lippy
Yeah.
because she put hands on him. That's even
Mm-hmm.
worse.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you put hands on somebody, you put a hand that all right, well now it's and even in a court of law, well, you put hands on him, you assaulted him first. Well, guess what? He defended himself.
Right.
But now you got hit by a man. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's and even if he's holding back, it's gonna be
And, and
a
that
lot
goes
more
to
detrimental.
how society is now because we used to value life and respect a lot more
Right.
back in the day. And now people are doing stuff that is just ridiculous. Violence is the quickest thing. You know what I mean? Someone's pulling out a gun, they're pulling out a
Yes.
knife, they're taking someone's life. And it's like, you didn't, what are you thinking about when you're doing something like this? And you're not thinking about your future. If you're married,
No.
if you're young, or, you're seeing a teenager do it, someone who's 19, it's like you just threw away your whole life for
Right.
what?
Right.
Because you couldn't control your emotions.
And that's like at least for me, martial arts has been a great tool for me for that. Um, it's taught me, jujitsu teaches you how to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations.
Yes.
Um, and it's a matter of all right, man. You know what I mean? It's it's easy for me to say that. I'm this big guy, I got muscles all over me, I'm kind of intimidating looking. You mean like people kind of know what I'm about. But I know plenty of guys that train with me that are the most unassuming guys in the world that would destroy you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm talking from 140 pounds up.
Right.
Okay. They'll destroy you. All
Right.
right. And it's as simplistic as like having that confidence and humility when somebody's in your face to say, this dude does not realize what's going to come his way.
Right.
Okay.
It's not worth it.
If he
wrath.
escalates it, right.
And-
If he escalates it. And it's
and-
like, all right, man, cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to go. You know what I mean?
I'll give
So
you-
like,
I
it's
don't
one
need
of
to
those.
catch a case.
No, like it's crazy because listen, depending on where you live too, like, you know, who's carrying guns?
Right.
Okay. So like, you take a state like Florida or Texas, right?
Mhm.
Everyone's carrying, man.
Oh yeah.
Are you crazy? Like everybody's carrying. Like outside of like, are you nuts? Like, do you need you? Did you forget that? Like,
Right.
you know, and in those
100%.
states, stand your ground laws. If they feel threatened, you're gonna die.
Right.
Okay, for what? For
Yeah.
stupidity? You know what I mean? Like and that's the thing. Like, walk away, dude. It's
Mhm.
what is it like? What is it? What at the end of the day? What is it you need to do?
Yeah.
And I think it also segues into phony tough guys. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
Unchecked egos.
yeah,
Unchecked egos.
man. Like phony tough guys. Don't you like? I think you guys might have read this, especially for men. It's kind of pathetic. I think it's 400% or something like that. I don't know how you range that 100%. Like they always come up with this 400% number of men feel like they could defend themselves in a confrontation. You know, when they can't.
Oh,
Like you can't.
right.
You can't
Yeah.
fight your way out of a paper bag. So what do you like? What are you doing starting fights with people on the street? And in today's day and age, a lot of people train now, guys. Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
you know, they're either doing MMA or they're doing jujitsu or like who's wrestling or who's boxing. Like somebody's doing something. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And to fight somebody that's untrained is like playing with a baby. You know
Oh
what I mean?
yeah.
Like, and you're gonna get hurt. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, it's for what? Like, why,
Yeah.
man? Like, for me, at the end of the day, let's say you get into a conversation, God forbid, get into a confrontation like that, and someone lights you up like a Christmas tree. Okay, and you didn't get hurt, you didn't end up in the hospital, but you lost. You took an L, right?
Mhm.
As a man, I would be waking up and go, well, I need to change that because
Right.
that's I just got my
Right.
ass handed to me. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it was so easy that I should be ashamed of myself as a man. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and then and like to me, that's the positive you take out of something like that. Like, hey, man, maybe I
Right.
need to get in better shape. Maybe I need to go learn jujitsu, boxing, karate. You know, wrestling, learn something,
Yeah.
sambo, whatever. You know, and be able to protect myself so I can protect my family. God forbid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Like that's
when I first started training and I got into doing MMA and jiu-jitsu, I was young and I had that mentality of, you know, I'm a strong guy. You know what I mean? I'm more athletic than most people. I'm 210 pounds. So I started training, and one of the first guys I went up against, he was about 130 pounds.
always
Okay.
goes that.
He's 130
Yeah.
pounds. I'll never forget his name was Kerry. And we start rolling. And this guy just wraps me up, man. He just turns me into a pretzel. There was nothing I
You
could
can
do.
do it.
And I'm just like, okay, hold on. Let's do this again. You know, so we started
Yeah.
doing it. And after that, that's when I had this respect where I was like, I look at everybody and I just say, every one of you guys can beat me. And even when I step outside into the streets, I just never take for granted anything like that. I
Never.
said, oh, you can beat me. So I'm not going to underestimate anybody. I'm going to keep myself out of positions because I've been there when this innocent guy who was 130 pounds looked like you would just shuck him, did what he did to me. And he made me start training harder and learning more and wanting to be more effective at that.
Listen, they wrap you up like you said, like an anaconda, and they tap you like
Yeah.
a type. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it becomes, you know, so it's like, and the crazy part about violence, unfortunately, like I had my son's training from birth. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And but I always tell them, I go, God forbid that you have to that you have to fight, end
Right.
it, end
Yeah.
it. I
Right.
want you to finish
right.
it, and be out of harm's way. I don't
Right.
want. You mean that's really what it comes down to because listen. It was different when we were kids. This is for me. Like I had tons of street fights. You know what I
Yes.
mean? I didn't have to
Sure.
worry about someone pulling a knife on me or someone's going to pull a gun on me or you know or this or that. And that was right through college. And I went to college in New York City when it was a different time. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
like, it's that mentality, and I think that there's a huge disservice to yourself and the ignorance of real violence. You know what it
Right.
really is. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because it's one thing to be in a controlled environment. It's another thing that, God forbid, you're in that environment. You know what I mean? Do you know how to handle it? You know
Right.
what I mean? Like, do you know what to do? And the first rule, like you said, is get away from it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, get away from it, dude. Like, there's no reason to. Like, I have a rule. I don't fight in the street anymore. The
Hmm.
only time you're gonna have me fight in the street is if I got to defend myself, my life, the life of my family. If I'm with
Mhm.
somebody and with this, it's all we had. Then guess what? It's on like Donkey Kong, and I got plenty of tools,
Right.
and I have full carry
Yeah.
everywhere. So
Yeah.
guess what? And I can fight. But just
Yeah.
Yeah.
know that if you take it to that level, I will too.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well,
So like it's
let's take a real short moment, real quick, just to let people know if you're in the New York or Connecticut area and you want to go see Dr. Paul Ciatto for any chiropractic work, you can go see him at Dr. Discipline, I believe. You want to plug your area,
sure.
Dr. Paul?
Sure. So we're in the New York and Connecticut, Western Connecticut and the Putnam County area of New York, which is basically 45 minutes from the Bronx,
Hmm.
one of the boroughs of New York City. We're physicalmedicineandrehab.com. That is our website. On Instagram, I'm Dr. Discipline, and also we have on Instagram Physical Medicine and Rehab. On our Instagram as well. Um, Powerhouse Jim Brewster, also on Instagram. And Altus Jiu Jitsu on
Yeah,
Instagram as
and you
well.
have all that in house, right? You have at
Everything is
your
in
gym.
house.
Hmm.
In the Brewster location, everything is in house. So,
And you have a full refreshment bar, I
oh
see.
yeah, Forza Nutrition. So we do it. We do it all. Yeah, Forza Nutrition is for all your supplement needs, all
And
of
they
your shake
ship.
needs.
And they ship.
Yeah, and we ship it. We
That's
do
right.
it all. We have protein muffins that are made by a Brewster Pastry downstairs from Chef Terry that you taste them and go, "These are good for me." Yes, they are, because
Wow.
we have a world renowned pastry chef who basically makes our protein muffins for us.
Okay.
That's
Um,
I'm
awesome.
yeah, but
gonna
we're
have to
yeah.
get some of those shipped to us, man. I want to
I'll
try some
ship
of
it to
that.
you. I will.
Yeah.
I'll ship. I actually will send. I'll let you. I'll text Mark and see what flavors you want. I'll ship them to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Them
Definitely.
overnight, so you guys can try them out. But yeah, we're like the Brewster locations. I like to call it a huge wellness center between the 30,000 square foot powerhouse gym, physical medicine, Brewster location, Altus Jiu Jitsu, and Forza Nutrition. You walk in and it's one stop shopping. The location in Connecticut is more of a traditional, standalone, in a plaza, but it's again state of the art.
Mhm.
And we're there. We're there. I'm actually working on some other stuff too with a childhood friend. We can talk about that on a different podcast. I don't like to put those things into existence
Nice.
until they happen.
Yeah.
But I've been working with this
For sure.
gentleman for a few weeks now about something also that we're going to be doing. Um, but again, it goes back to the vision, man. I had a vision. I started in an 8 by 10 room in that gym, and then here I am today.
That's
There you
So.
awesome.
go.
Mhm.
Hey, so
And
I
how
just
long
want to
have you
let you
been doing
know.
jujitsu for?
Go ahead, Ralph.
So I'm a third degree black belt
Hmm.
in jiu-jitsu. So it took me 11 years to
Okay.
get to black belt, and then I've been a black belt 9 years.
Damn, that's
So
awesome.
yeah, so
Yeah.
now you get your first degree, your degrees for the first three are 3 years. So
Hmm.
first three first, second three second, third three third, and now I got to wait 5 to get
Okay.
my fourth degree. Yeah, they make it difficult. So it's you know I'm 54 now. So and I've been a third degree for, oh god, going on 2 years now. So
Okay.
I'm almost the halfway mark. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
For
Very
that,
cool.
I'll be pushing 60 when that happens. But
Well, I wanted to ask you because since you're a third degree, I'm a first degree Italiano. You know that
okay.
Conacello right here? I see you wear that, and I was telling my mom, I said, I used to wear one of those all the time. I said, I
Yeah,
was wondering who gave that to me. So I was about 10 years old.
sure,
And this
sure.
Conacello, I believe it's
Yeah,
pronounced,
yeah, the cornicello.
is
Yeah. Hmm.
yep, it is given. It has to be given to you, right? You can't just buy it for
Yeah,
yourself.
it's so
And
funny that yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go
and
ahead.
it's
Finish.
supposed to ward off, bad evil, the evil eye, and supposed to bring
Right.
good luck. So I just wanted to bring that to you because it's so funny that even though
Yeah.
Mexican food is my love, my culture, but
Right.
Italian food is my favorite food, man.
Listen, man.
And I'm
I
not
have
sure
a.
where I got that from.
If you guys
That is
come,
hilarious.
if you guys ever come to the Northeast, my buddy Luis, who owns Fiesta Mexicana and
Hmm.
Las Mananitas, It's the best Mexican food. I've had Mexican food, and for me, believe it or not, Chicago was one of the best places I ever had Mexican food. City of
Yeah.
Chicago, best I ever had. Texas was great, obviously, but here in New York, I can tell you, I go downstairs and he makes me a freaking, like, he'll make me a porterhouse, Mexican style. It's
Wow.
delicious. Like,
Hmm.
just the well, because listen, I grew up in a guinea house, so the more the merrier with all that stuff. You
Yeah,
mean so
yeah,
like,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, most
you know,
definitely.
and
Full
Luis just,
tables
oh my God, forget it.
and
So
courses.
I love all
Forget
that.
about it.
Anything Mexican, Hispanic food, I love it all. So like,
Yeah, yeah, I
um,
love it.
so again, if you ever come here, I want to take you there. But it's funny you mentioned the Cornicello because yes, it's supposed to be gifted to you. All right.
Mhm,
Hmm.
It goes way back in in Italian folklore to ward off the Maloicu, which is the evil eye, right?
mhm.
And it's funny because I was given mine, and then I was given the Maloicu too. If you notice, I have this next
Oh,
to,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
And it's funny because my daughter just came back from Sicily like a few weeks ago, and she
Oh, because
actually
of
visited my,
graduation. You
yeah.
graduated,
So
right?
she went. That was
Awesome.
her gift, right? So my youngest went to Italy like 2 weeks before her, and then she went, but he didn't go to Sicily, but she went to Sicily and went to my father's village where he came,
Mhm.
and she got to see what poor was. You know what I mean? So like, when you think poor is poor, then they go there and go, okay, that's poor. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like, so she sends me this picture the other day of the Chinicadia, which is the Sicilian. It's their flag basically. So it's the
Okay.
three legs. You know what I mean? And this and that. She's like, "What do you think about this?" She's like, "We need these." So I'm like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, we need these." So I literally went down to the jeweler, who
And
again,
got him.
they're Northern Italians, but they're great guys. And
Mhm.
he goes, let me look. He goes, I may have to make this. I'm like, oh, God. I'm like, great. I said, because I'm gonna have to get fucking three of them. You know what I mean? Because of my
Yeah, so
kids. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, but it's so funny you mention that because for me too, you notice I always wear it on a separate chain
Mhm.
because you can't. Nothing's greater than God, and because it's it comes from that folklore, and it
Sure,
comes
sure.
from paganism. There's some stuff that
Mhm.
attaches to it, and
Sure.
I would tell guys, I'm like, you can't wear that with the crucifix,
With the
man.
cross. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like you can't do that, dude. It's our culture, but you can't.
Yeah.
And I even went to the priest about it. And I'm like, I went to my priest and I'm like, I don't do it. I said,
Yeah.
I know I don't wear
Yeah,
that corner, the Maloica. I don't, it's on a separate chain, you know what I mean?
sure.
Outside of it. And he's like, priest is like, yeah, you kind of want to keep it separate. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's not a bad thing. He goes, I
Yeah.
see it and like I know what the intent is, but if you want to be biblical, in the sense of
Yeah,
what it
sure.
is, like you shouldn't. It's like you want to wear it separate. You want to wear it together, it's got to be in a separate chain. You know what I mean? Because listen, every culture has these things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everyone has them, but you got to separate it from God.
Yeah, for
You can't
sure.
put it on. That's a standalone, baby.
Yeah.
Now
you
let me
know.
ask you, what's your
Mhm.
favorite Italian meal? I know mine is baked mostacciole.
You know what mine is?
Hmm.
What's that?
Tripe.
Oh yeah?
Really? Hmm. And how is that? How do you cook that?
Well, there's different ways that they make it, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
And I was raised in the Sicilian way, which is in like a fra diavolo sauce with a little bit of carrots,
Hmm.
okay, maybe some potato, but very more carrot, anything, but like little slivers, and with bread. So you're eating it's loaded with as a tripe, but then
Wow.
they're loaded, and you're eating it and you're enjoying the sauce because you know how to prepare it. It takes a long time,
Is that
like
a thick
Sure.
sauce or like a soup?
it's a hearty sauce, a thicker
Okay.
sauce. It's not like a
Okay.
soup. Where my mother-in-law, rest in peace, she made it more like the Napoleons, like a stew, which
Hmm.
is delicious. I
Mhm.
always enjoyed it, but I was raised eating it the other way. So
Right.
whenever I see my mom, she always makes it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hmm.
And they make it. She makes it for me here too. But like, so believe it or not, I'm very old school with that type of stuff. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because I love it all. You know what I mean? But like you said, I could eat every day. I really
Yeah,
could.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just one of those things where you know, when you're raised in that type of, like I said, I could tell you what I had for dinner every day growing up. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like it did, and then during seasons and during holidays, what came around. You know what I mean? Like we didn't go out to dinner For
Sure.
God's sakes, I didn't know what sushi was until 20 years ago. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I didn't like, we didn't Chinese food. What's Chinese food? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it just didn't happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like as I got older and went to college, I'm like, all right, I gotta try some of this stuff because,
Yeah.
we just didn't have it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think pizza's on everyone's list, but the
correct.
baked masticholi with the 7 types of cheeses and
Yeah.
Mm, mhm.
masticholi noodle and all that stuff, man,
Yeah.
it was just so good that
It's good.
turned into my favorite meal.
You know where the best pizza in the country is, right?
Where's that?
Connecticut.
New York? Oh, Connecticut, yeah.
Connecticut.
Really?
Yeah, man. Connecticut's the best pizza in the country. Look it up. It's
Hmm.
crazy. And
Wow,
it's right
nice.
near me too. Right where I live is where, it started. New Haven, Frank
Okay.
Pepe. Like, yeah, it's crazy. And trust me, New York's no slouch, but
Yeah,
I hate them being a New Yorker who transplanted to Connecticut. I can tell
Yeah.
you
yeah.
that.
I
They
know I know New York and Chicago always beef over their pizza.
but see, like pizza in Chicago, quick
Go ahead.
story. I went
Yeah.
out to Chicago to fight in the IFBJJ tournament in Chicago. I was a black belt 3 months. Okay.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
I go out there to compete. I'm there with 2 other guys. I'm there with my instructor, Rafael Formiga Rabozo. I'm there with another guy, Mike Palladino. He's a black belt under him too. And Palladino kept breaking our balls about this fucking Chicago pizza, right? I'm not and like and me and I'm looking at him and he's Italian. I'm like, dude, you're not gonna like it. We're from the Northeast. We don't eat pizza like that. I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
telling you, it's a big cheesecake with pizza. You're not gonna
Sure.
like. I gotta have it. I gotta. So we're rushing O'Hare to get on the airplane to come back, right? So I'm like, all right. So detour into we gotta go to Gino's, the original. And we gotta go. We gotta go. We go there, and he orders. Now I don't order it because I know. Okay. Long story short, tell me how much of he ate of the slice.
One
One
bite.
bite.
2 bites.
Hmm.
2 bites. I said, and we almost missed the flight. And I'm like, because you had to have this pizza that I told you weren't gonna like, man. Like
Yeah.
that's Chicago style pizza. And listen, each to his own. God bless them. But
Yeah.
Sure.
if you're from the Northeast, dude, you don't eat pizza like that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the
You
big
don't.
slices, thin, right? You can
Yes.
fold it over.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that
Oh.
Chicago pizza's focaccia, as far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned. It's focaccia, even bigger than that, with cheese on it. I don't,
Yeah.
why would I want to? It's whatever, but that happened. That's a
That
true
is
story.
And
fun.
what did he say after that? Like lesson learned?
He just like he just shook his head and laughed, and then and Formiga in his Brazilian accent said, "Motherfucker, we almost missed the flight because you had to have this fucking pizza."
2 bites. 2 bites.
Yeah, and it's like so the point again, but that happened. That's a true story.
Oh, that's funny.
Mhm.
I
Well,
was checking out
also,
your page and I seen that you have a Corvette E-Ray.
Yeah,
oh,
I just got that.
Man,
Mhm.
that is bad. How are you liking that thing?
sweet.
I'm gonna tell you full disclosure. I'm a BMW guy. Okay,
Mhm.
that's all I ever had. I've had the M cars.
Yeah.
I have a great. If you guys need a GM, talk to me offline because I have a hook in Michigan with a guy that's gonna get you whatever you want.
All right.
And that's why. And he shipped them all over the country. For
Okay.
friends of mine. So long story short, the deal was so great. And what I got the car for. I just couldn't do it, and I had a Hellcat jailbreak,
Hmm.
that I ended up even trading against this based on top
Right.
of the deal because it was an upgrade.
Right.
It's amazing. I'm not
Yeah.
going to sit here and tell you it's not amazing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it doesn't look like the hottest car on the road.
Yeah.
But it is not a BMW. That I'm going to tell you.
No,
I got to get used to it. But BMWs are the safest and the best engineered cars on the road, period. And when you've had as many M's as I've had,
Yeah.
and you've driven them the way I've driven them,
Yeah.
it's just you can't. It's German engineering, and I'm as patriotic. I'm all about American. I got a TRX. I've got I got American
Yeah.
stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but you can't. And
You know what, Dr. Paul, I'm gonna have to disagree with you. I'm a Chevy guy. I'm a GM guy, and I
get
have a BMW.
Okay.
So I love my BMWs, and
Yeah.
they're bad. But there's differences. You know what I mean? I think there's differences. You got raw power in the American cars. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially with that all-wheel drive system. and then you have your turbocharged, different sound coming from the Beamers, you know.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. I've owned, you know, Corvettes, Camaros, Trans Ams, you name it, and there's just something different for me driving that American V8 versus the BMW. You know what I mean?
Well,
I don't know, but I will
Beamer-
admit the handling on the Beamer is just amazing.
Yeah, I grew up on American Muscle. I had all those
Yeah.
cars too. My jailbreak was
Uh-huh.
dangerous, and I had two
Yes.
other ones before that.
Yes.
Like you don't realize when
The
you go from
traction limited.
when you go from 717 to 807, okay, in horsepower,
Yeah.
and you're going 70 miles an hour and you hit it and it fishtails because it lights
Right.
up, right? Okay, and I'm a driver, so
Yes.
so when I see these guys, when all this big horsepower, I'm like, how much more do you got? So just to comment on what you said, I have an M8 comp right now. Okay.
Bad. Nice.
Okay. That car, if you told me against my E-Ray, M8 comp all day. And the reason being is that you're talking about an X-Drive system, which is the best in the business.
Right.
They're laying down that horsepower and that German horsepower and torque to all four wheels.
Yeah.
Okay. Where the E-Ray, and don't make me wrong, I'm playing with it. I'm driving it. It's different. Okay.
Yes.
You remember that front wheel drive system, you know, electrically comes into play when you need it.
Yeah.
That M8 comp, it's there whether you're doing 5 miles an hour or you're doing 140 miles an hour. Okay.
Right. That's true.
And the way that car goes, my son and I drove back from Virginia with my M8 comp from a wrestling tournament. Okay. 140 miles an hour, and that car is a 207 mile an hour car if you really wanted to go. Okay. We're talking like we're doing 60.
Right.
Okay. And my son said to me, he goes, Dad, I go, yeah, I'm not doing that in the Corvette.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not. It's not happy. Like, and I love the sound. Don't get me wrong. I went and showed it to a buddy of mine in town because
Really?
he's in business. I went and showed him my vet yesterday because he's a businessman in town, and he comes and we both support each other. And he's like, you gotta bring that fucking thing over here. It's my favorite car on the road. So I text him like, you in the shop? He's like, yeah. I go, I'm coming through. So I came through, and like, don't get me wrong, I love the car.
Yeah.
But again, when you spend as much time as I have with BMWs and whatnot, it's going to have to really prove something to me, if that makes sense.
How does that E-Ray feel to you at speed?
Say that again.
How does the E-Ray feel to you at speed? Like if you're going over 100, is it less secure? I mean, you don't feel connected to the road, or?
I feel like you have to get used to that car. Here's the difference between BMWs and the rest of the cars in the world. Okay. A BMW makes a bad driver a good driver. It makes a good driver a great driver. It makes a great driver a race car driver.
Right.
Okay.
I agree with you there.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
Yes.
How many people you know have taken Corvette Z06s, Hellcats, and wrapped them around telephone poles out of the dealership?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They can't drive them.
Right.
It's too much car.
Right.
You're not going to be able to you're not going to handle like, we can get technical about driving techniques.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? You're just not going to do it, where that BMW is going to save your life.
Yeah.
A lot of times, man, it is. And
the ultimate driving machine.
It's the ultimate driving machine, and it's the
Yeah.
truth when they say it.
Yeah.
It's the truth when they say it. Like, here's the thing. My M8 comp will beat anything on the road, basically. And
Right.
I haven't touched it. So why would I go, if I had the money, why would I go spend 200 grand on a Porsche?
Yeah.
When I'm going to beat most of them? Why? Why
Right.
when you could take an M3 or an M4 and just do a stage 1 in it,
Yeah.
it's going to beat everything
Right.
for 90 grand.
Yeah.
Why? And it's the ultimate driving machine.
Yeah. Those things are nice. Are you going to do anything to your E-Ray? Or are you going to keep it like that?
I called, my buddy who sold me the E-Ray, and I said, if I want to do like a stage 1 to it, I don't want to void my warranty. So like with BMWs, if you use Dynon, you use X, Y, and you can do any of the upgrades you want to those cars, and they will not void the warranty. Same thing with Mopar. If you do their upgrades with Mopar, like for Hellcats and whatnot, you can blow the motor and they'll replace the motor. As long as you did the upgrades with them. What he told me with Chevy was that you have to submit the paperwork, and they will add it to your policy. Okay. But they also have the right to say, nah, we're not going to add this. You know what I mean? So outside of opening up the ECU on that car, I wouldn't touch it.
Yeah.
and it's a collector's item. It's one of 47, the one I got.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So like I would, and again, it's super fast, man. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's an American Ferrari, for God's
Yeah.
sakes.
Yeah.
It's an American supercar. I know that. You know what I mean?
Check
So
out there's a company in Texas. They're called Boost District. So you can just go on YouTube whenever you get a chance
sure,
and look them up. And they modify the cars. They put twin turbo kits on them or
sure.
superchargers, cams. But check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. They do a lot of stuff.
You know
It's
what?
pretty
Naturally
nice.
aspirated, man. I don't feel like I need to touch it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I think
No.
like I don't. There's no reason for it. If you didn't build it with superchargers or turbos, I don't. There's no reason for me to add them. You know what I mean? There's enough you could do just talking to the computer in that car and saying, "Open the car up."
Oh yeah.
You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean? Like I don't. You know what I mean? Like it's these guys go crazy. I'm like, dude, man, come on. Like
Yeah.
Oh,
you
it's
gotta.
fun. It's
Yeah,
addicting.
yeah, it is. Trust me, I've been there. I've been there, done it. But then when you go and you buy these cars and they perform the way they do, you like, and maybe it's me just getting older. I'm like, what the fuck do I need to do more to it for?
I know, right?
You know?
Well, hey, with
Oh
that
yeah.
said, we're coming up a little bit over an hour. So I want to say, I want to ask you, Dr. Paul, what is one thing in your professional career as a chiropractor, in building a business, and then also one thing in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that you can give these youngsters, these young people coming up, some words of wisdom, right?
Sure.
Um, in order to accelerate their path a little better in what you have done.
Sure. Well, firstly, in chiropractic, the biggest mistake that most people that go and get into the profession do is they do everything but chiropractic. Okay. And what that means is you're not good at adjusting people, or you didn't hone your craft, which is crazy to me because that's what we do. We're the
Mhm.
original
Yeah.
bone setters, man. That's what we do. And if you don't know how to do that, how are you going to help anybody? All right. You're going to be viewed as a snake oil salesman if you're going to put all these supplements in your office, or you're going to do this, or you're going to, and you all these modalities. Listen, I was trained in a very medically oriented chiropractic college, but we tell you something, man. I put hands on people. I was trained.
Yeah.
I'll move the oscillars in your ears. You know what I mean? All the other stuff is an adjunct to you getting people well. So
Mhm.
first things first is for those people that are aspiring to go to chiropractic college and be chiropractors, be a doctor of chiropractic. Do
Mhm.
what you are trained to do. You're a neuromusculoskeletal doctor. Be the best one you can be. I have plenty of medical physicians and osteopaths who refer tons of patients to us, to me, because of what we do and our outcomes.
Mhm.
Okay. And in the same instance, my training, I diagnose and realize, okay, you need to go see these guys. Or I've given it my best shot and say, you know what? This isn't working. You need to go see these guys. So the biggest thing, and it's even on my website, in closing in this particular question, is this. There's plenty of chiropractors out there, but there's not enough doctors of chiropractic. Do you
Yeah.
follow me, guys?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Be a doctor of chiropractic. Be a
Sure.
doctor of chiropractic, just like you're a medical doctor or an osteopathic physician. Be a doctor of chiropractic, and you will be successful. If you veer from then, you're looking for trouble.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then to answer your second question about jujitsu, first things first, you are going to be the nail way before you're the hammer. Okay. And if you can understand that, weather the storm, know that everyone has started the same way that you have. And I can tell you, as a black belt, it started all over again for me when I became a black belt. You become the nail, okay, before you're the hammer. So embrace the journey and understand that it's not easy. It's not going to be fun at the beginning. But what jujitsu gives to you, you will never be able to give back to jujitsu. And the only way you're going to understand what I'm saying is by doing it. I could sit here and go on a diatribe and tell you, oh, you have to be there. You have to understand and go through it to understand exactly what I'm doing. Or excuse me, what I'm saying. And you're like,
Mhm.
man, he was right in that statement
Mhm.
he gave. And one little tidbit I want to add to it is that stick to traditional jujitsu. Okay. This no gi craze is just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's not jujitsu in the sense of how you learn it. It's submission wrestling. Don't get me wrong. These guys are hyper talented and they learn jujitsu. But I'm going to leave you with this. All of the guys who compete in gi jiu-jitsu, who are world champions, go over to no gi and win and become no gi champions.
Mhm.
Never see it the other way.
Mm-hmm.
These guys that never put a gi on will never, ever go compete with the gi on and will never be champions because it's a completely different game and
Yeah.
it's not jujitsu.
So let
Okay.
me ask you this then. With that being said, what do you think
Yes.
about Gordon Ryan?
The best. But
Okay.
he wore a gi. He wore a gi.
Yeah.
He transitioned into no gi.
Right.
And I have DM'd Gordon Ryan, who I'm a huge fan of. He's a stud.
Yeah, he is.
Gordon, put the gi on.
Yeah.
Go put the gi on. And show everyone that you are the best. Go put it
Yeah.
on. Seriously, I know he's making tons of money, and dude, I love him. I'm not hating
Yeah.
on him. And he's a competitive, you know what?
Yeah.
Go put the gi on.
Absolutely.
Go put the gi on. Go put the gi on and look, yeah, man, I can do both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's a huge resurgence in the gi right now. Huge
Hmm.
resurgence. My professor, Rafael Formiga Barbosa, 11-time world champ, 12-time world champ. Like, he can do both. You know what I
Right.
mean? But like, again, if you want to learn jujitsu, put the gi on and keep the gi on. It's very simple. You can always Marcelo Garcia, who just came back to competition, in my opinion, the greatest of all time. That guy never took his gi off for no gi competitions. He'll tell you that. Never.
Hmm.
He'd take it off a couple days before because it translates the other way. It doesn't translate from
In
gi,
reverse.
excuse me,
Yeah.
from no gi to gi. It does not.
Hmm.
It doesn't. There's a system in no gi. It's called wrestling.
Mhm.
Okay. And you've seen what's been happening to high level wrestlers that get into the jiu-jitsu world. Like, it's different. They get subbed. They get
Hmm.
tapped. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And listen, my son's going off to Iowa to wrestle, so it's not. I love wrestling. Don't get me
Right.
wrong. You know what I mean? But the point being is, you got to understand what you're looking at and what you're
Right.
dealing with. And for me, as a purist, and how I came up and how I came through the system and continue, you put the gi on and you
Yeah.
wear that gi. And lastly, guys, as you get older, that no gi shit hurts. Okay, it's a wrestling match at that point. Okay,
Yeah.
so I don't even and full disclosure, I don't take my gi off.
Yeah.
That shit's over. My sons can do that. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm done with that shit, and I have tons of accolades of no gi. Okay,
Yeah.
and I have no desire to take my gi off. It's not what I do. And in the
Yeah.
end, like I said, it's almost like I said, the translation back and forth. I hope I was really clear about that. I'll use another sport in closing. It's like you take football and wrestling, right? So there's only one sport that's going to make you a better football player. One. There's no other sport that makes you a better football player. None. And anyone else that wants to argue with me about that, please get them on the show and I'll lambaste them. Okay. All right. There's only one, and that's wrestling. Wrestling translates to the football field. You want to become a better football player, you go wrestle. I don't care what position you play in the football field. It does not translate the other way. You could be a great football player. It doesn't mean you're going to be a great wrestler.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's not. Unless you're Ray Lewis, who was a Florida State champ. Like, there's a lot of wrestlers that have been in the NFL, whatever.
Right.
That is the only sport that translates to the football field.
And
Unfortunately, it doesn't translate the other way.
and are you saying that because you think there's a lot of hand skills at play there when guys are on the line and how to
Hand skills, leverage, this weight
right.
displacement, strength in angles and positions you'd never look. Think about being in a pile or tackling somebody. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
when you learn to shoot a blast double, you're not going to translate that to the football field and fold guys in half.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, come
Yeah.
on, man. Like you just on takedowns alone, ankle picks, high crotches, all stuff you could do in football, man. You could
Right.
suplex guys in football. Like, that's why I always tell guys, the guys, young guys come around me, I go, you want to get better at the football field, and you better get in a wrestling room. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's going to be in the best shape of your life. You're going to learn technique that you're going to translate to the field, and so on and so forth. So where I relate that to jujitsu, and I tell this to guys all the time who come in, I'm like,
Yeah.
don't get caught up in this no-gi nonsense, man, because it's not
You
jujitsu,
know,
it's submission wrestling.
you know what's so funny about that? Because half my team wrestled when I was growing up and going to high school and playing.
Yeah,
Then my what is it? My receiver coaches
yeah,
had me go out to track because they wanted to
right,
build up my speed. And I was like,
right.
dude, why am I going to track? I hate running, bro. You know,
Yeah. But
but
again,
half my team was wrestle. So
your
I can see
feet,
that.
yes, your hands and feet are all wrestling, depending on, I don't care what position you play. So let me
Mhm.
go run track in a linear situation. When has football been linear since no one football was a north to south game when I played back in the Stone Ages when it was more violent and you could get away with a lot of shit.
Right.
Football now is you got offensive linemen 330 pounds running a 540.
Yeah.
For God's sakes, with hands and feet. Listen, the kid on my son's high school team, he's there. And my son's gone now from my own prep, going to Iowa. But the heavyweight on our team, all-star football player. You see this kid wrestling, his hands and feet are amazing. He's manhandling these guys because at that weight class, he's very athletic. You understand what I'm saying to you? So, like, I can tell you this year alone, from his sophomore to his junior year, the transition that he made on the mat alone, and how he applied, and he's got all Division I schools looking on for football.
Oh,
you know?
wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, man. Like, I've seen it happens over and over again. So,
well, I think you made a lot of good points, and I think a lot of people are going to appreciate all your knowledge and all your experience. So, for Ralphie and I, we appreciate you taking time out of your day, of your busy schedule, and sitting down with us and, and sharing some of your knowledge and some of your experiences, because I think a lot of people are going to benefit from it. So I just want to thank you from me, and Ralphie, thank you again, Dr. Paul. You're doing great things. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for sharing with us. It was very entertaining and very educational.
I appreciate you guys asking me. I feel it's very humbling and I'm honored. And listen, you go through life and you hope that you can help people. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's really what it comes down to in the end. And if you can touch people and help them in any way, shape, or form, whether it's, hey, I liked what he had to say, or, as an example, whatever it is, in the smallest of forms or the greatest of forms, I think that's the greatest blessing that God bestows on you as a human being. So
I think so too. So with that said, thank you again. I appreciate you being on. Thank you, Ralphie, for being on as well. Give me about 5 minutes after we get off, and I'm going to talk a little bit in the green room. So thanks again for everyone that was following us. We didn't take any comments today. Maybe next time we'll take some comments. So as we're boosting this page, and hopefully we can have you on as a guest again, Dr. Paul Ciatto.
Please, ASAP. I'd love to be there.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.